Good evening, everyone. We're here with another Jazz Matters podcast. Today we got our guest, Mr. Edsel Robinson, and
Yeah.
Mr. Edsel. And
Yes.
and how you been, man?
Man, been good during these trying times. Been good, man. I'm thankful. Still alive and for as I know, they say I'm still healthy, so that's a good thing.
That's probably the best thing. You know, uh, today, of course, Ed. Before we get started, I want everybody to know that you can go to yesjazzmatters.org, and that is the website for Jazz Matters. You can go there. There is a donate button on there. That we are 501c3, so all donations are acceptable. We also have the Jazz Matters store, which you can purchase coffee mugs, T-shirts. You can even purchase hot sauce there. It's our own Jazz Matters hot sauce, if you can believe that. For all you barbecue eaters and fish spikers, you know what I'm saying. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and get started with this. And Ed, man, for everybody that doesn't know who you are, and just let them know a little bit about you, your background, how you got started in the music business. Because you've been in the business a while, as long as I've been knowing you, down here in Atlanta. So it's about like it's good to let people know that you've actually moved into different phases of it. So we'll get to that, but right now, just go ahead and let them know where you're from, who you are, and how you got started in the music.
Okay, I'm a native Atlanta, Georgia person. Name is Edsel Robinson. I went to high school here, Southwest Atlanta High School. Went to Morris Brown, and I was always in the music department playing drums and trombone back then. And my first tour was with a R&B group called Cash Flow, and which was produced by some of the Cameo members, Larry Blackburn, and then after that, just played with a host of all others, Peebo Bryson, Cameo SOS Band, After Seven. I did Andre 3000, did a few things on, played with, did something on Dottie Peoples. So I'm kind of all around the spectrum, with music. But I've been doing it for quite a while, and matriculated into management, and then during quarantine time, I found the need to try to do somewhat of a jazz CD.
Okay.
So, that was quite interesting for me because I was sitting around and I said, well, shoot, let me try something on this downtime. So I wound up playing keyboards.
Right.
Started off in drums, but I play keyboards
Yeah. Now,
now.
you also work with a pretty popular uh, rhythm and blues group around town, uh, 911.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
the 911 band. We're actually opening up for Anthony Hamilton at Chastain coming up, and
Now about when is that though? You got an idea of the date?
I know it's either July the 2nd, 3rd, or 5th. It's one of those. It's on my calendar, but then we
Okay.
got the call for that, and so we've opened up for him at Wolf Creek before, and I think it's the same promoter, and he likes the band
Yeah.
for being an opening act. So we doing that, and everybody's kind of hype about that.
Oh, that's cool, man. Well, for one thing, you said you were over at Morris Brown. Now,
Yes,
now, when you were at Morris Brown, what was that experience in the music department?
man, it was wonderful. Like as stated earlier, I started off with drums and trombone. So I was always in the concert band and the marching band playing drums. But just met quite a few people there that were in music and doing well. I pledged a fraternity called Phi Mu Alpha, which is a music fraternity. There, I met John Robinson. He was an older frat brother, and he was just a jazz great. Um, Luke is an older. He's a trumpet player. He was a great jazz player, and so I was listening to those guys, and I was like, man, I would want to kind of learn that one day, and so they let me just kind of sit around and listen to them. Wouldn't let me play because, of course, I wasn't on keyboards then, but I was just soaking it all in, soaking in the melodies and soaking in that culture of the straight. They were doing a lot of straight ahead, but it's all music, and it was a good thing. Wound up leaving the marching band to get in the choir under Glenn Halsey, and that was one of the best things I could have ever done because he talked about dynamics and voicing and harmonies, and just it was a great experience there at Morris Brown and on the yard, the AUC yard, because you had Morehouse, Clark, and Spelman all in the same area, so you got a chance to intermingle with musicians and other students from other colleges.
Yeah, now, and in that triangle, there was quite a few interactions I had with a lot of the people that went to all three of the schools, really. And
Right.
and the thing is, there were some great people over there. Was a Rod Smith over at Morehouse at the time,
Smith.
and I had met Rod Smith in Boston, up at Berkeley. He was up there taking some classes,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
and by the time I got back here, he said, I asked him, I said, "Man, did you ever go to Berkeley?" He says, "Yes." And he said, "I took a few classes." I said, "I know I seen you there." And it was just ironic that I would meet him in Atlanta a few years later.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It's kind of strange. But
Yes, and let's not forget Bill Brainer and Paul Mitchell because
oh
they were
yeah.
paramount in my learning jazz. So Bill Brainer actually let me play xylophones in the Purple Image Band, and he arranged an arrangement of My Funny Valentine for me to play on the xylophone since I
Mhm.
was a percussionist. And man, I was scared, man. It was because I didn't really know how to improvise, but he was just saying, sing with your solo. You don't have to play a lot of stuff, but just let it sing. It needs to make sense. And man, just the whole experience, you can't beat it.
Yeah, Bill was probably one of the better arrangers around here. Anyway,
Hmm.
as far as jazz music, John Peake and everything was a good band leader also.
Right.
Paul was a great pianist and arranger. Uh,
Yes.
and I mean, at the time you were talking about, man, the town itself was definitely a town to be in as a musician because
Oh yeah.
there was always an avenue that you could go in and just perfect your craft. You know what I'm saying? You remember the old days of going in what was it called? 200 South. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 200
Yeah,
South. I mean,
jazz only, that's
right.
basically it.
Right.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
jazz.
I was too young. I was so young seeing some of the guys around here playing, man. But some of the club owners would let me just come in, and they say if you don't move, you sit over there in that corner. I just want to be in the midst. They say sit over there in that corner and don't move, and that's what I did. But
Yeah,
I was able to see Claude Ray,
yeah.
God rest his soul. What's the guy name? That played drums back then. Wound up with the Temptations.
Oh, Ollie Woodson. Yeah, I remember Ollie,
Ollie
yeah.
Woodson, Claude Ray, and this guitarist, man. They used to just
Yeah,
kill up
Rolando
in there. And
Pumphrey,
I
that
used
was
to say,
him.
I want to do this one day. I want to do this one day. So I would ask them questions, and I would ask questions. A lot of the young guys don't do today. They feel like they know it all, and it's
Well,
always
that's interesting, man, because I've run into the same issue, like they have their own, I guess, references to what they figure things should be about.
yeah,
And they, pretty much go from there. But as a person that studied well and had mentors and so forth, you find out pretty quickly, how many holes they got punched in them. You know what I'm saying? As far as
yeah.
what they don't know.
I mean, if nothing else, you can ask about the music business,
Right,
but this is more of an information age. I'm talking about
right.
back then. I'm talking about from 78 to 82. I don't think computers. I mean, we were still carrying beepers or something back then. So these
Yeah,
kids
yeah,
now, I'm thinking that since everything is on YouTube where they can reference and get the information, they
right.
have no need for asking older guy, what you think. They're actually getting it or absorbing it from the computer now
Yeah,
or
and see,
YouTube.
and that's one of the things that I had a little bit of issue with the younger people doing that, because I do know of a lot of people that that's where they get a lot of information.
Hmm.
And the only problem is, as far as I'm concerned, is that computer can show you almost anything,
Right,
and but it's not you can't have a conversation with it, like the why.
right,
You know what I'm
right,
saying? That
right.
that conversation where when we were coming up, we would ask the questions how and why. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? And that's how you learned. And a lot of times, a lot of the musicians would be pretty much forthgiving with the information. Then some musicians will just tell you, just sit over there in the corner and be quiet. You
Well,
know?
I mean, that happened to me. I mean, but I was humble enough to know that I didn't know it all, and I wanted to learn. So I'm still learning
Yeah.
at 60. You know, I'm still picking up things from my elders and some younger guys because they're innovative in their own way with a few things, and so I understand the evolution of how music is matriculating. So it's all about humbling yourself and getting the knowledge because I do feel like knowledge is the cornerstone of achievement with whatever you're trying to do. You
Right, and like they always said, knowledge is power, but I always said applied knowledge is power. You know,
know.
applied knowledge is
Exactly.
power. You know, knowledge you can have
That's
all
right.
the knowledge, but if it's not applied, it's
That's right.
nothing. You know, but
That's
anyway,
right.
as far as getting back to you right now, the projects you got going on. For instance, I know you controlling a couple of groups, and is it anything on the burner for you as far as a solo artist to actually that you might be working on, or I didn't
Well,
embarrass you that time, but then did I?
well, it's like, let me put it this way. I never considered myself a jazz artist because when you're around a real jazz artist, you know where you need work at. You know what I'm saying? But what I try to do is just put together feel good music.
Right,
And music that just feels good, have simple melodies, a change, a bridge. And so I did a project called Edsel Robinson and the Prime Example Experience. And it was pretty good. And I kind of, as I was doing it, and musicians were saying, "Hey, man, this stuff sounds good," and it made me feel like, "Oh, well, I might be on to something here."
right,
I mean, especially from people that I admired their gifts in jazz,
mhm,
and they said it doesn't have to be so intricate. You doing right. It's just music. You want it to feel good, and it needs to say something and have the sensitivities in it. So I mean, it's not straight ahead, but it's more contemporary jazz, and it was cool. I guess this, when I look at the George Dukes and Joe Sample, people say I can play. I'm going to humble myself and say, well, thank you. But I do look up to those guys, and they are phenomenal players. And there's some people that's kind of pushing me to do the solo thing. I'm more of a group. I like the camaraderie of the group. I would rather be called a group name like Foreplay is. It's not
right.
just
Just
Bob
one person.
James.
Right,
Yeah. Well, it's not me as a solo artist. It encompasses the whole band. You
right, right,
highlighting everybody, and I think I fit better in that scenario than me being the man and he's just killing the keyboards the whole night. You know what I'm saying? So I started off playing parts. I'm an excellent part player. That's what people say. That's how I got my tours, by learning parts, finding the sounds, and playing your part. When you're a solo cat, you're more so out front, and everything relies on how you like to move and how you like to navigate. I like to put together arrangements and stuff. I do that, but I don't know. It's kind of on the table. Guys pushing me to do that. I think you just you know, I don't know. I think it'll happen naturally if I'm supposed to be. I just follow the spirit. If I'm supposed to be there and people want it, and I'm on a festival, hey, you call me for a festival and say I want you to play. Look, I'm going to be there. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well,
We're going
like
to
you
make it
said,
work.
like 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 it's been told, there's two ways you can go about it. There's one way uh you can get a gig, but then
Uh-huh.
there's another thing to keep a gig, you know.
Right.
So in other words, you know how to keep a gig. You see what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
But
And and it and it's about your personality and how you get along. I'm sorry, with other musicians and how they get along with you. So it's more than how well you play. I found out it's you have to do your part, but then you have to have a good personality and gel with other people too for the chemistry to be there. You know.
yeah, yeah, you don't want to really try to uh like you said, to be you know out there basically trying to showboat, so to say,
Right.
all
Right.
the time. You know what I'm saying? With
Right.
everybody you go with, that's how you lose a job. you
I
know?
think that's what a band is. Everybody's
Yeah,
supposed to play
yeah,
together. It's more
right.
of a together thing.
That's that.
Play
Yeah, the
as a
parts.
unit.
Yeah, put all
Yeah,
the
and
parts together.
play your part.
Right.
So being a part player is not a bad thing.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's how you keep a gig. you
Right,
know
right.
how you
Some guys feel like if you don't play all over the place that you
right.
can't play, and
Well, that's
that's
not
not
true.
true.
That's not true. As
Right,
a matter of fact, that's how you get a gig. Somebody come in and see you playing, they say, "Oh, this guy can play." Get him in there. But to keep a gig, around other musicians and so forth, that's a whole different story. Because that's longevity.
oh yes.
That'll keep you in the loop for a long time. So now, as far as uh, some of the younger people that are out there now, and I know you say you like a lot of their ideas and everything. Um, I think that they're reaching back more and more, in my opinion, to the old R&B that we came up in.
Right,
They seem to be rehashing all of those groups, grooves, and so forth, and even some of a lot of the songs.
right,
And they automating the rhythm, like or the instruments. That's the only
right.
difference I really see in it. As far as the vocal styles of the rhythmic vocal styles of the younger artists, I think that they are caught in like a void between a gospel singer and an R&B singer, and they tend to lean a little more to the gospel singing, you know, because
Yeah, I
a
mean,
lot of them do, like, for instance, I've heard a lot of records recorded, and I heard some of the younger folks do a lot of runs, in inside of a song, but they weren't aware that they were singing out of tune. You know what I'm saying?
right,
By doing that, you know what I'm saying?
right.
That's something you find a lot of times with the younger people today. They hear this, and I call it a takeoff on the old Stevie Wonder stuff. When Stevie used to do that kind of thing, he was conscious enough to know that he was singing in tune when he did it.
And Charlie Wilson.
Yeah,
Charlie
Charlie
Wilson.
Wilson the same way. But if you think about it, Charlie Wilson also had to come up listening to Stevie Wonder. You
Right.
know what
Oh
I'm
yeah.
saying?
Oh yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
the thing is, but when it got, I think around what, the 90s maybe,
Hmm.
the later part of the 90s, latter part of the 90s, um, it was a lot of the younger people doing it, but nobody was telling them that they were singing out of tune. And 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 the record companies were letting this stuff go, man. I guess it was just the, I don't know, the marketing of just the young people in itself, but the record
Yeah.
companies, it surprised me that
It's
they would let
Yeah,
it go out
well,
there.
it's a combination of both. Yeah, I feel like it's a combination of both because we all came from church. I mean, a lot of people I know that was out on the road, and the reason they're out on the road playing for church because I mean playing on the road because the church wouldn't pay them, you know.
Yeah.
But they would pick up a lot of these things, and I think it's kind of like the nature of where kids are because this is it's you have the music business and then you have the record business. So the record business don't care if it's excuse the French two blind strippers and with C&I dolls as long as they can sell.
Yeah.
They don't care. But the music business, it's
Yeah.
more so into how the music sounds, and they not really necessarily caring about if it winds up being a Grammy award winning thing. That's why you have kids doing so many things that's outlandish to get recognized. That's what it's all about. What's your Instagram look like? What's your YouTube? What's your followers look like? And so if you're trying to build it up, and I get it. They paint their face, tattoo their face, wearing colors, and just doing all this stuff for in this world to be noticed. Back in the day, it was all about seeing who produced the track and who played on it, and
Right.
it was important for us to read the albums to say, oh, okay, this guy played. That's him playing the solo. So a lot of times now, I don't think they really care too much about it. I might be wrong,
No,
but
I think you pretty much hit it right on because it's pretty. If there was like the way you put it, how they like you said, tattoo their face or make all these real strange. Well, they're not strange in the music as far as the musician goes,
right.
but when the public sees them, they all of a sudden are drawn to them, and
Right.
I call it the Bozo the Clown syndrome. Where every kid was drawn to Bozo because of the way he looked. You know what I'm saying? You know, I
Well,
mean, it was what he would think about it, what he was wearing, what he painted face all up. I mean, it's the same thing. You just said it.
but but it's but it's still I mean, that's a form of
Yeah, it's
marketing.
marketing.
You know
It's
what I'm
right. I
saying?
mean, Bozo, hey
It's
man, Bozo the Clown, we talking about him right now. So that means that he was marketed well.
Ronald McDonald.
Yeah,
So
there you go. Same
when
thing.
my kids were younger, every time they were like they saw that, they wanted to go.
And they,
So
they didn't care how bad it tastes, right?
right. Their marketing is something else. So that there again, we're talking about the record business and the music business. The record
Yeah,
business,
yeah,
like I said, they'll sell whatever sells because people are generally self-indulgent and trying to make all of this money.
right, right, right. So as far as we'll leave that alone because the next time somebody hears that and they'll realize, wait a minute, I'm following that Bozo pattern. Hold on a minute, get it
So it
together.
works. It works for some people. Some people, hey man,
Right. But so now here in Atlanta, I know I was talking to you about doing some things, and I'm hoping since the COVID situation, it seems to be calming down a little bit, and I hope by next year, we might be able to actually get out there, you know, uh, full blown for the most part as far as entertaining people and so
right.
forth.
Yeah,
But
both of my corporate bands been working, and we just try to come up with strategies that will keep everybody safe, and
mhm,
I mean, everybody's trying to get back out to working, man, and
yeah,
people miss the stage. It's
but
almost like
not
a life or death thing.
yeah. Do you think it's too early or not? I know that's a hard one. I intended to throw one curveball at
I
you.
think is yeah. Well, I mean, this is a good curveball. I just think we just really have to understand that it's still something going on. Just because the powers that be saying, "All right, you can, go
Yeah,
out and celebrate." I mean, you still have to be cognizant and use your own mind. And I'm very spiritual driven, so my spirit has to tell me if whatever I'm doing is the right time or not. You know what I mean? So
okay.
it's like and I think that's with everybody. And then you have to respect people that don't feel like it's time right now for them. But I had my signature on some contracts that I had to do, so
Yeah,
I had to find the people that will make these dates work.
right, right, right. Somebody just go ahead and put on your spacesuit and go on out there, right?
Yeah, and then when you get out there, we try to keep ourselves. What I try to tell the band, we are responsible for each other, so we have to travel together, and then plus we could be in the dressing room. So if we know that we're safe, we don't have to be out there in the audience around a bunch of people, just on stage, off stage to the dressing room, and then we be responsible for each other.
Right.
Checking to make sure everybody's everybody's safe and healthy before we leave, and
Mhm.
at least we know that between the bus and getting to the gig and back, that we're safe. So I just try to tell musicians, just stick together and stay. You don't have to intermingle. You know, our
Right.
job is to get on stage, perform, and get off.
Well, that's cool, man. What about if you had to do it all again, would you go this route with the music?
When you say, that's kind of vague. When you say
Okay,
do what all
if I
about
mean
the
from the time,
career in music?
yeah, the career, yeah, with your career.
Well, I tell everybody you have to start with something that you think you're good at. I mean, you might be an engineer, doctor, teacher, or whatever. Because I started off, well, going to college. I went. It was music education, so they were prompting you to be an educator, music educator, and I did it for 3 years, I think, at Grady High School. But then the tours kept coming up, and
Right.
my parents wanted me to just play for church. Be a teacher, you'll have a good life. And I I did the total opposite. I still play for church, but I just always wanted to play in front of thousands of people, man. I
Mhm.
just, it was in me. So the part that I would change um, is just understanding the business better. I think all of us go through that. We heard TLC. I mean, my royalties got taken. I didn't know what I was signing. I was happy to be there,
Yeah.
and so that would probably. But even in that experience, it taught me that I need to be more on my business. So I wouldn't. I'm kind of double dipping here, but I enjoyed the experience. I wouldn't change that experience because I learned from the experience of your publishing being taken. It was just a lot of things educational wise I didn't understand back then,
Mhm.
with which helped me, which led me to be taken advantage of in certain instances. I just put it like that.
Yeah, I know a lot of musicians ran through that same issue, including myself. And
Mm.
back then, though, we were more musician than we were business people. Uh,
Right,
there were some musicians that were on the business level that was pretty good, with the business as well as being a musician. But the majority of the musicians were pretty much trying to be the best musician they could be. And and
right,
and I had definitely gotten caught up in it myself until shortly after I came off the road. Just so happens, because back then, if you think about it, a lot of the headliners, that if you were working for head people like, headliners and so forth,
hmm,
they would not give you
share
insight. They would not do
share
it.
information.
They would not do it. If you were lucky enough, I was just lucky enough to get a person to share the information. You know what
Right,
I'm saying? But that was about the time that I was leaving the road at that time, so I'm like,
right.
"Wow, if I'd known this, years
Well,
earlier."
all of us say that because
Yeah,
I was on the phone with an old manager, and he said well, he worked with the management team. He said, "Ed, you were just a newbie. You were a newbie,"
yeah,
and we laughed about it. Because I always say, "Man, if I knew what I knew now back in my
mhm,
20s and 30s, man, I'd be awesome right now." But
yeah,
look, I mean, your family had to be able to afford encyclopedias. You would have had to be able to afford attorneys, and attorneys, you know, they were expensive. Everything was expensive. Studios was expensive back
yeah,
then,
yeah,
100 and something an hour. And then, you're young, you don't have the money, but you're just happy to be there. But if I had known what I know now, I would have been out there on tour. All the radio people I met and all these connections I met, when they said it's time to go, get on the bus and head back to the hotel or whatever, I always jumped on the bus. Thinking back, I probably would have stuck around, got numbers.
yeah.
It was so many opportunities, but I just didn't know. You don't
Well,
know what
right. Well, that's what happens when you're young. You know what I'm saying?
right,
You
right,
can't just get thrown. Very few entertainers just get thrown right in there with the mix. You know what I'm saying?
right.
Very few.
Right.
Only people that really had that opportunity were people we knew that came up. like the Jackson Five, for instance. Theirs was
If
all
their
in house.
parents, just
Yeah,
like
their
if their
parents
parents
took
were
it
all
on. Yeah.
in the
Uh,
industry, yeah.
now, as far as I don't know if you'd seen the the recent awards, uh, the music awards, but it seems to be. That's why I said earlier, a lot of the music seems to be going backwards into the R&B phase of music that we pretty much came out
The
of.
old R&B.
Yeah, the old R&B.
Mhm.
And but for whatever reason, it just makes me laugh a little bit about youngsters looking at that as a new thing. It's like
Oh yeah, oh
and
yeah.
it's kind of funny to me when they try to explain what they're dealing with. It's
Right, right.
like,
My kids used to do that with the rappers used to come out with stuff. And I said, that's cool in the game. They say, no, that's Puffy. Or I'm like, no,
yeah,
that's, especially when the era of doing a lot of sampling.
right.
But I like the new Bruno Mars song.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's got all the old school elements in it. And I think, and it's crazy, when you try to produce a young artist, they look at you as being a elder, and they say, well, that sounds old,
Mhm.
old school production. But then they'll turn around and look at Bruno Mars and say, well, that's fat. When I was like, that's old school production. I hear Roger and Zap. I hear
Right. Yeah.
Gap Band influences. I hear some style, especially the new ballad. I mean, with Anderson Paak. Oh man, that sounds like something way straight out the 70s.
Yeah.
70s.
Exactly.
I mean, but I mean, that's just the way it is. I guess it's their time now. If an older person, an older musician produced the same thing, people, for some strange reason, people won't want to do it, buy into it. But then
Right,
it'll
right.
take a younger person to still do the music. And for some strange reason, um, I just think blacks are very trendy, and I don't think whites are as trendy, because if you look at a pop star, you might see back there who's playing. It might be the studio musician. You might see guys with salt and pepper hair back there playing behind
Oh yeah, yeah.
a pop star. So they don't
It's sort of
they
like the
don't
way
care.
yeah, it was like the Funk Brothers and Motown. Those were
Right.
jazz musicians. They were older musicians, and they were working behind all the stars that came through Motown and so forth. You
Yeah,
know.
even with Outkast, when I was playing with Cameo, I know the bass player, he played on the Sorry Miss Jackson, and Kevin Kendricks, he was my counterpart on Cameo stage. I mean, he plays on a lot of Outkast and Andre 3. Actually, he's the one that got me the Andre 3000 gig. I mean, because he still has relationships with those guys. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So he's constantly in the studio, and I think that's And he said they kind of give reverence to old schoolers, man, because if you notice their style, they had that other flavor, and that's why they were so different.
Yeah. Yeah. So Ed, man, it was great talking to you, man. Can you
Great talking
tell?
to you. I'm humbled.
Yeah, hey man, don't worry about it. You'll be back. We'll talk again. We'll talk again. Now, tell people how they can get in touch with you if they need to know about the business or they need to just keep up with you. Period. Your platforms on social media.
Okay, well, it's quite a few. My kids get on me for not having an Instagram, but I'm on Facebook, Edsel Robinson, EDSELROBINSON, and some of the stuff I do, because I shoot videos and I do all that stuff. And on this side of life, I have a little production company with Bruce, the comedian, and we're trying to shoot different TV show ideas, and of course, music has something to do with that also. And both bands, you have the Atlanta Pleasure Band, they on Facebook, the Atlanta Party Fanatics, and you can just type my name into YouTube, and it should come up, and some different things that come up that I've even shot or been involved with.
Okay. And
And as far
mhm.
as the jazz project, Edsel Robinson and the Prime Example Experience, that's on a site called United Masters. So they say they have it on all the platforms. You hear people nowadays say, "I'm on every platform." Well,
Yeah, right.
yeah, you know, I think I sell better. I think I sell the music better myself. You know,
Oh, okay. Yeah, there you
I
go.
make more at least.
I well, okay, man. Well, everyone can always get me at yesjazzmatters.org. That is the website for Jazz Matters. And like, don't forget, go and check out the pages. Like I said, we do have a donation page, which, is because we are 501c3. And also, we'd like to get Ed back in here as soon as he slows down a little bit, because I know you're always working. You're doing something all the time. You know.
Yeah, I better to keep these bills paid.
Yeah, I know that's right. Okay, well, that's cool, man. So we'll be getting back with you, and thanks everybody for watching, and we're out.
Thank you, man.
Peace.
Peace.
Yes, sir.